Hello, my name is Pete. Welcome to Dad in the Kitchen. Today I'm going to be sharing some cost-cutting measures by showing you how to cut your own pork chops from a half loin, in this case boneless. Now, the market is always going to dictate, more than anything else, whether you'll actually be able to save money by doing this, especially your local market conditions. If you have a store that offers meat cutting, you're not necessarily going to save money by cutting your own, but it's still a nice skill to have. In this case, we're using a 4.5 pound half loin of pork. As I said before, this is boneless, and I like to set it down fat side up. The reason I like to do that is because I make my initial marks before cutting all the way through. What I'll do is I'll cut it in half, then cut each half in half, and from there I'll usually be able to get 3 chops out of each section. And again, I make the initial marks before I cut all the way through. Now, there are a few things that are helpful to know before you start. First thing is your meat should be a little bit tempered, but not too much. This is actually just fresh out of the refrigerator. Of course, it's not frozen. I don't have a bandsaw. But it is still cold, and that'll help the meat kind of hold together. It'll firm it up just a little bit. You'll also notice that I have my cutting board inside a baking sheet, and that's just a convenient tip to help clean up later on. Next, you want to make sure your knife is nice and sharp. In this case, I'm using one of 2 Santoku knives that I have. They're basically the Japan's answer to the French knife, or the chef's knife. Alright, now it's time to make the first cut. I had mentioned that I start right in the middle. I cut it just about in half. I'm not measuring it all, I'm just doing this by eye. And you want to make sure your knife is nice and sharp, nice long strokes through the meat. Set half to one side. Cut the other half directly in half. Come on over here to this other half that hasn't been cut yet. So now we have 1/2 pork loin cut into 4 roughly equal sections. We'll set them aside for just a minute. Now from here, you're going to cut it into 3 chops. Or at least I am in this case. Whatever works for your family. This one might be a little bit easier if I lay it on its side. At least to get it started. Now I can turn it up. There we go. There's 3 pork chops. Come over to the next section here. There's 1. Two, 3. Here's your 3rd section. Three more pork chops. And finally, there you go, 12 boneless pork chops. Thanks for joining Dad in the Kitchen, and if you learned something today, feel free to subscribe for more. Don't forget to leave a comment. Thanks.